Mark Beckles delivers the 2018 Keynote address and is conferred the Transformation Institute's Fellowship. Mark Beckles is the Senior Director of Youth Strategy and Innovation at Royal Bank of Canada. He has over 30 years' experience in banking, insurance, risk management, and non-profit leadership. He holds a degree from Bradford University in the UK, MBA in International Business, along with the Institute of Corporate Directors ICD-D designation. Mark leads RBC Future Launch, a signature initiative of Canada's largest bank, which involves $500 million over 10 years to help Canadian youth prepare for the future of work. He has served as President and CEO of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund Canada.
The Transformation Institute for Leadership and Innovation hereby confers Mark Beckles with this unique fellowship. This certifies that Mark Beckles, who at this point in time is the Senior Director of Youth Strategy and Innovation for Royal Bank of Canada, or RBC, is hereby conferred fellowship of the Transformation Institute as he delivers the 2018 Keynote address at the annual Transformation Awards Gala. And his profile in the 150 Extraordinary Canadians Legacy Project. The ceremony involves investiture and designation of Mark Beckles as Fellow of the Transformation Institute, or FTI, with all its privileges and responsibilities. Today, which is the 15th of June, 2018, Toronto, Canada, signed by myself, President and founder of the Transformation Institute, and Tony Ruprecht, who is a director at the Institute as well. So we will now proceed with making this presentation.
I accept this as a family man. I accept this as an employee of RBC. I accept this as a community leader, and I accept this also as a Canadian. So thank you so very much to the Transformation Institute for this very special honor. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Métis, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. I also want to acknowledge and recognize fellow recipients and honorees this evening and congratulate you on your worthy recognition. I also want to again thank the Transformation Institute for convening these awards that recognize the power and passion of community, that recognize excellence and diversity, that recognize efforts toward greater inclusion, and awards that truly foster a greater sense of togetherness and purpose in all that we do. These are all core Canadian values, and we should all be proud to be part of an effort and of an organization that remains committed to the preservation of what makes Canada great in the face of those factions that would threaten to deconstruct the very essence of who we are in favor of a more populist and sometimes irreverent, too often intolerant and contemptible alternative. An alternative that would frown upon what we celebrate here this evening. Breaking of bread and sharing stories, celebrating our cultures, building community, embracing identity, cultures, languages, faith, our accomplishments, our diversity in all its forms, encouraging each other along our respective journeys, regardless of how we got here, and simply just being there for each other. That is what being Canadian means to me. But let's be honest, not everyone shares that vision of Canada. In an age where we see the emergence of hyper-masculine democracies that spurn compassion, the disruption of a world order that portended toward social inclusion, the responsibility falls to the many to ensure that we remain true to our values and to who we are as a nation. I am reminded of the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who said, quote, "One of the great liabilities of history is that too many people fail to remain awake through great periods of social change. Every society has its protectors of status quo and its fraternities of the indifferent who are notorious for sleeping through revolutions. Today, our very survival," and these are his words, "today our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, and to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change," unquote. I submit to you this evening that we are a nation that is facing great change. We are confronted by challenges which we could not have imagined even a year ago. And as we press toward that just society, there are forces internally and externally that are pushing back. Whether intentionally, conspiratorially, or simply by accident, there are attempts to be a crude reset of values that would set in reverse the social progress that we have made over the past quarter century. I wake up every morning proud to be a Canadian and to know that I am a better human being for the benefit of living in this incredibly rich multicultural milieu where I can learn or experience something new every day, where diverse thoughts, opinions, and cultures enhance my very being. And then there are days that I worry a little bit. I sometimes wonder whether we have settled into an unwitting complacency where we just assume that no matter what happens, everything is going to be okay. That magically things are going to work out. I sometimes wonder whether we are sufficiently troubled by the rise of antisocial norms and being appropriately vigilant about attitudes and behaviors. We should be troubled by the high level of youth unemployment. Youth are passionate, they are truly talented, and they want to contribute to the society, but we seem not to recognize our collective responsibility and obligation to ensure that they are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow, even as our workforce undergoes significant disruption and transformation. We should be troubled by poverty and the increasing rate of homelessness. I wonder whether we are troubled by the fact that despite our great wealth, our progress and our promise, that swaths of people in this country are being left behind. As the world turns, we must not forfeit our confidence in each other. And we must not pander to narrow nationalistic or individual interests. For our true courage is found in our readiness to stand together when it is hardest, when we recognize that we are one among many, and that we are formidable when our personal mettle is not aligned to selfish gain, but to the good of the many. Now more than ever, we must seize every opportunity to celebrate our citizenship, for when we do celebrate our citizenship, we strengthen our communities. 150 years later, our role remains to ensure that the snares and manacles of discrimination and indifference do not take root here, that we do not default on our promise of freedom for all, that in this land of opportunity and abundance, fewer and fewer Canadians find themselves exiled in the vice grip of poverty. We are watching as the world swings from bluster to pageantry, from warheads to handshakes, from friends to foes, from drama to dogma, from confidence to chaos. And through all of this, I submit that the true North, strong and free, must remain a beacon of light, confident in her identity and committed to her values no matter what unfolds. This is who we are, and this is whom we shall be. We shall not be cowards. We shall not be a nation of cowards. And no, we shall not be pushed around. To close, I will simply say that our greatness does not rest in our individualism. It is not determined by the one who stands tallest when the sun calls it a day. It is not measured by the loudest voice or the biggest ego. Our greatness is found in our response to the weakest and most vulnerable among us. And my hope is that we continue to pursue that best, most honorable version of ourselves. That is what makes us great. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us Canada. Thank you.